Ice balls don't just look cool, they actually surface a purpose. When you add ice cubes to your beverage, they begin melting fast and can often water down your drink. This is because a cube has a high surface area, giving it lots of contact with the warm liquid. Using a sphere provides the same cooling effect, but with less of it coming into contact with the liquid itself. That means the ice ball will melt slower while keeping your beverage nice and frosty. We figured out a simple way to get edible ice balls using tennis balls and balloons. This means you don't need to buy expensive molds. In fact, you can make these right now with stuff you probably already have laying around your house. On the other side of things, here's a pricey ice ball mold that we got at the store. You fill the container up to the line and place it in the freezer for a few hours. The results on these seem to be all over the place, but we'll check back in on that later. You've also probably seen people making ice using just balloons. It's simple enough, really. Just get yourself some water balloons and fill them up to the desired size. The problem is that they're not going to come out in a sphere shape, more like an egg. So if that's what you're after, look no further and enjoy your egg-shaped ice. To take the balloon method a bit further towards perfection, you need a way to hold the balloon in a sphere-like shape while it freezes. Using a tennis ball is cheap and extremely effective. To start, you'll obviously need a tennis ball. I got a bag of these for less than the price of that plastic mold you saw. Next, you need something to cut into it with. Don't let the tennis ball deceive you. It's quite strong. I went with a simple handsaw to quickly cut into the ball. Be extra careful when cutting, as you don't want to damage your extremities. Cut about 3/4 of the way down, as this will leave some of the ball connected while still leaving room to put things inside or take them out. The cut doesn't need to be perfect, but try and keep it as straight as you can. Next, take your water balloon and attach it to a nozzle. I had this nifty hand pump available, but a sink will work just fine. The balloon not only makes leaks impossible, but it also keeps the ice from touching that nasty rubber inside the tennis ball. Once the balloon is ready to fill, place it inside the ball and slowly add water until you see the ball beginning to split apart. You'll want to fill up the inside completely to get the spheres you're looking for. Now you can grip onto the end of the balloon and slowly let out any extra water by squeezing the tennis ball carefully. Try to keep it filled up as much as possible while still being able to close the ball. Tie off the balloon to the best of your abilities and get yourself a couple rubber bands. Simply place them around the ball in a fashion that'll keep it closed so the water inside can freeze into the proper shape. Once you're done, just place the tennis balls into the freezer for a few hours. If you want to go a bit bigger, scour your dog's toys and see what goodies might work as a bigger mold. I found this oversized tennis ball that was perfect for some icy action. Following the same process as before, I carefully cut into it with a small saw and got a much larger balloon this time around. I filled the balloon up using the faucet, making sure it was inside the ball first. The larger ball made this easier to work with, and you can tell exactly where you're at in the process. Once it's filled, you just tie it off again, leaving the stem outside of the ball. Of course, you need some strong rubber bands to hold this beast in place, so plan accordingly. Put it in the freezer, and as usual, hurry up and wait. If you remove your ball before it's fully frozen, you might run into a bit of trouble when you go to remove it. This one, for example, had a nice frozen shell, but the insides were completely liquid. It looks pretty awesome, but cleanup was not the most exciting part of my day. Not to mention, adding dark food coloring probably wasn't the best choice here. Speaking of food coloring, you can spice up your ice balls with a more festive feel by adding a few drops to the balloons before you fill them up. You might want to wear gloves while doing this so you don't stain your skin, but just add the nozzle to the balloon and let it loose. If you're just sticking to frozen balloons, tie them off and add them to the freezer. If you want an ice ball, then follow protocol and do the filling inside of the tennis ball. Alright, now let's take a look at what we have so far. The frozen balloons came out as expected with oddly shaped ice, but it still worked pretty good, and there's nothing wrong with having some egg-shaped ice. But the first batch of ice spheres using tennis balls came out even better. Simply place your frozen tennis ball down and remove the rubber bands using whatever method you prefer. Now pry the ball apart and remove the rounded balloon from the inside. Again, if you used food coloring, make sure you have some gloves on. The balloon may burst off on its own, but if not, a simple tap with a knife should do the trick, leaving you with a frozen orb of goodness to add to your drinks or whatever you plan on doing with them. My absolute favorite came from the extra large tennis ball. Following the same directions, I just popped off the rubber bands and removed the balloon from the shell. Pop the balloon and boom, icy perfection. Unfortunately, I don't have a drinking glass to fit this, but it served its purpose for showing you how it's done. You might also be wondering how the plastic mold worked out. The problem with these is they tend to break apart once the ice begins to expand, which can leave your final product looking quite off in shape. They require you to monitor them as they freeze, so you have to remove them at the right time, as opposed to the set it and forget it nature of the tennis ball mold. But hey, whatever works for you. Oh, and here's another fun thing you can do if you want to make a tasty treat. How about a candy ice ball? I had some festive Skittles laying around and wanted to try this out. Just prop open the balloon and add as many as you can. The candies are actually going to dissolve while the ball freezes, giving it a unique color and also making the entire thing taste sweet. Here, check this out. After freezing the Skittle ball, this was the result. You could chip off pieces to eat or treat it like a lollipop and enjoy it over a long period of time. Either way, the kids will love it. So here's everything side by side. These three came from using balloons alone, which I said works in a pinch but lacks the aesthetics of a sphere. This one up here's from the mold. It's close but not perfect, whereas these two came from the tennis ball molds. I think the clear winner here was the balloon and tennis ball combo. Look at that magnificent ball of ice. If you like this video, consider hitting that thumbs up button so we know you enjoyed it and we'll make more. We've also got you covered with some great summer life hacking videos if you're struggling with that heat. Check them out here and make sure you subscribe so you can get first comment on our next video. See you next time.